Good evening, Fernwood. It is your TV pal Neil, and it's time for some more late night variety madness with the next episode of Fernwood Tonight. If you are just seeing my face for the first time, I don't know where you've been because I've reacted to all of Mary Hartman, and we are continuing with Fernwood Tonight. We watch the show together, then we talk about it because conversations are fun. If that sounds like it's your bag, then please stick around. Tonight we are watching episode 18 from July 27th, 1977. Yesterday brought our challenge to a new level, so let us see what that was. Barth Gimbel continues to make clear that he is a bigger TV star than Jimmy Carter, and he extends the challenge for Jimmy Carter to come down and personally see face-to-face how that would work out. Tom Waits' bus has stopped in Fernwood, and that means that he can be a guest on the show. He sings his song, "The Piano Has Been Drinking." Tom comes down to the couch to share some iconic lines, and then we bring back guest William W.D. Bud Prize, who shares some of the statistics of the history of Fernwood. Then Jerry takes the chair to introduce Barth as Barth demonstrates exactly how much more talented he is than Jimmy Carter. And with that, Barth says to us goodnight, and everyone, yesterday was a silly delight. I think it's time for us to find out what's in store for us today.
Fernwood Tonight, coming to you live with your host for tonight, Mr. Barth Gimbel. Tonight, Barth's guest will be Dr. Stanley Turnbull with a home test for mental illness. And Happy Kine and the Mirth Makers. And me, I'm Jerry Hubbard. And now your host and mine, Mr. Barth Gimbel.
Wowee. Thank you very much. This is another edition of Fernwood Tonight, and I'm Barth Gimbel, here to host it and set it off, make sure it has some talent on it. I certainly appreciate you people tuning in every night and coming down to the studio here and seeing us. It's just wonderful. It's not really a mystery to me, though. I know why you do it. Same reason that I think over the past 10 years or so, I think I can probably count hundreds of people that have come to see me, and I think I know why. You want to hear good, solid bossa nova music well played. Absolutely, everyone does. And I want to give you my very, very best music when I do write the stuff, and I do the bossa nova probably as well as anyone from down south, and I mean south of the border. The problem is, I'm new in Fernwood. It's just like a fresh start for me. I had a little problem in Miami. You may have heard about it, and if you hadn't, fine. But I don't want to get off on the wrong foot, that's for sure. I want to give you my very, very best bossa nova number. Now, the problem is, again, being new in Fernwood, I don't want to step on any toes. And this song, which happens to be my finest bossa nova hour, I'd have to say, it's not that long. I mean, it's just a short song. But it has a few words in it that, well, quite frankly, might not be for Fernwood. Do you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit more. We'll call them big city words. Mostly because you see them written on walls in big cities. It's not that I particularly try to write what somebody might call an off-color song. For crying out loud, that's beneath me. But it happens to do with the way I write my songs as is. I use a method called stream of consciousness, or in the case of this song, it's really more puddle of consciousness. I think have a little trouble with moving water. But in short, what I'm saying is I don't really do this. It didn't happen inadvertently. It didn't really happen advertently. It's just a word will slip in now and then, and I don't know what to do about it because I really want to play you my best song, and son of a gun, again, I don't want to offend. A lot of you people are on dates here tonight, and I think that's just darling. I firmly believe that it's proper to at least take her to dinner first. And I've always stuck by those guns. Or a movie, depending on what's playing. I'll tell you what I can do. I think I'll sing it for you anyway. What the heck? But if I come to one or two of these words, and there's only one or two in the song, really, that I think might cause someone to have even less of a good time than they're going to have, what I'll do is I'll just hum that word. Okay? That way, you people who might be understandably a little squeamish, you have nothing to worry about. And you people who are just a taste hipper. I think you know who you are. You'll know what I'm talking about anyway, right? Heck, it's Fernwood. A lot of you probably even done it. I'll just get the trusty axe over here, and here goes. Don't worry. I'm going to give my censor a little night off. Lord knows he works hard enough with Jerry here. Last night I took you home, and we began to You were such a only 17. Rubber shirts, leather skirts, and a quart of Mr. Clean. Pick up the soap. Mayonnaise and rope. Then from the chandelier, the three of us. Hospital. Whips and chains. Great Danes. Your wife. Now would be a great time to introduce Jerry Hubbard, but we'll be right back after this.
Thank you, Happy. In recent months, the big television networks have broadcast some prime-time specials to test the American public's ability to cope with our own problems. There was the National Survival Test. Remember that one, Jerry?
I don't really know, yes. Oh, that's the one I found.
That was to determine how we would react in the case of an earthquake or a flood. There was the National Physical Fitness Test to determine what shape our bodies are in. My next guest is a psychologist from Gary, Indiana. Quite a drive, huh?
Steel City.
Yes, it is the Steel City. Yes, it is. And he has prepared a test that you can do in your own home to determine if you are mentally ill. You'll need a pencil and a paper for this, of course, and please gather the whole family, young and old, around the set. Remember, no one is too young or too old to be bonkers. So, please welcome Dr. Stanley Turnbull. Well, you
never know exactly what to say to a doctor like this. Should I say, how are you, or I'm fine, or pleased to meet you? I'm afraid they'll read something into it. And
I think you probably said too much already. You must be a little nuts yourself.
You feel.
Must be a little nuts yourself after a drive like that, huh?
Well, actually, Barth, I flew in.
Oh, all the way from Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could have paid for that. Doctor, why a home test for mental illness?
Well, Barth, I'd like to throw out some statistics for you, if I may.
Throw away.
Okay. There are only 24,000 trained psychiatrists in America today. Only 545 qualified institutions that can handle therapy. Mm-hmm. And yet we suspect that 1 out of 10 Americans have some sort of mental disturbance that could be helped by treatment.
Uh-huh. So by taking your test, they can answer the question of just how well adjusted am I, right?
That's exactly right.
And whether or not they should get counseling.
It's the first step. You got to figure out if you need treatment. No use getting treatment if you don't need it, and vice versa. No use sitting around needing treatment and not getting it.
Yep.
That's absolutely right, Jerry. What we feel is that it's always better to nip these little problems in the bud, these undetected problems, before they bloom into, your general neurosis. You never know when the mild-mannered guy next door just packs a submachine gun and wipes out the secretarial pool. Happens a lot of times.
Wires that shotgun to the neck for the weekend.
Wingo, you know,
Not
they're
the idea of a
gone.
necktie.
That's
no, sir.
right. So we want to help with this test.
Well, that's great, Doctor. I think we could go along for hours here saying a bunch of meaningless things. Why don't we instead get right to your test? And what's the first question?
Absolutely. Okay, this first question has to do with self-loathing. Okay, question number 1. How many times a day do you wash your hands? None? 3? 10? 100? More than 100? Do you wonder why? Okay, question number 2.
Oh, those answers could change every day depending on if you're doing nothing, or maybe you're getting out working in the garden with manure and fertilizer. You might.
What's number 2?
Incidentally, we don't have a paper and pencil there. Maybe we'll just remember our answers.
Sure, just play along in your own alleged mind. Question number 2. I want everybody out there to close their eyes and imagine that you're walking down a dark street. You hear footsteps behind you, and when you turn around, who do you see? Okay, now turn around again. Turn around again. Who is there this time? Is it the same person? Are you sure there's someone there? Yeah, let's face it, is anyone ever really there? Aren't we just a little bit peculiar? Okay, question number 3. I'd like all of you out there to write your own name down on the piece of paper in front of you.
Again, we don't have a paper and pencil. We'll just remember ours.
Doctor, something occurred to me, too. If there are mentally ill people out there, I'm kind of worried about this constant use of the word pencil and paper, because the pencil is a pointed object. Could they possibly do the same thing with a crayon, something like that, something a little duller?
Say, look. We're not worried about inflicting self-wounds here. You know, you can say pen and parchment. It's the same kind of thing, you know?
Okay, just wanted to clear it up.
Just so you don't say take a knife and carve it into the wall or something.
That's what I'm worried about, a soldering iron on your own stomach or something.
Iron it into the carpeting. Maybe soap on the mirror might be...
Burn it into the side of a library.
That's what you want to stay away from.
Of course.
Say, if it's all right with you, those people out there can use crayons. I don't care.
Fine, that was my point. Okay, now we had question number... where were we now?
You've got me, Barth. Oh,
And we're glad we have him, aren't we?
That's right.
kind of a role reversal type thing then. Okay, we're on question number 3, and I want everybody out there to write their name down on the piece of paper in front of them. Okay, have you...
Everyone's case will be different, so don't cheat and look at your neighbor's answer.
Okay. All right, you got your paper and your pencil, you got your name written down. Now, is this name the same name that appears on your driver's license? If not, why did you change it? And if so, why not?
You know, I can see a lot of people out there kind of going to cop out maybe and go downtown and get a new driver's license, which is not the answer, incidentally. I think the answer there is you should have professional help.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you're Tony Curtis or someone who changed their name for professional reasons, in case.
Then you've already had professional help,
That's
Jerry.
true, yes. And he can afford the best, too.
Probably doesn't even drive his own car, Jerry.
That's probably... I wouldn't if I were...
I guess less said the better is probably the only thing you can really say about that.
The best thing about this test is the continuity involved. If we could move along,
I'm sorry. Well, our problem, Doctor, is we had a bear act on earlier, supposedly, and the bear died. So we just have to kind of... Oh, the pelts are valuable, so we're not worried. So.
Sure thing. Okay, now...
Our eyes open or closed? Let me get this
your
straight.
eyes are open. Okay, there we go. Okay. Your eyes are open and your pencils are ready, and I'm a very patient doctor.
Okay, doctor needs patience. Oh, but seriously. Oh, I make myself laugh sometimes.
Hey, you know, I can take kidding just as well as the next guy.
Great.
Okay. Question 4. how many times a day do you really wash your hands? I mean, really. No, really. I mean, is it 10? Is it 50? Is it 100? Is it more than 100? Come on. Let's have a straight answer.
Of course, if someone got up to wash their hands since the last time you asked that question, they could really have a problem. Suppose they wash their hands 3 times, and then since then wash it 25, they're going to a whole different category. If they're anything like me, they come back and the paper and pencil is gone. They got to start all over again. If you were writing your answers with soap on a mirror, then you might have a tendency to, hey, try to wash the soap off your hand in between them.
I have one more question, if you'd like me.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Look, yeah.
Show our viewers here. We got this on. I'd like to ask you, people here, people in the audience perhaps, and people at home, what does this look like to you?
I don't know if we can show a picture like that on television.
Oh, doctor.
Actually, this isn't fair because I know what it is. So I'm going to disqualify myself. So
Hey,
go
let
ahead.
me ask the question, okay? Does this look like the voice of a person that is still alive? No? Does it look like the voice of a dead person? Why do you see a dead person in this ink blot test? Hey, forget about even writing this down. Just raise your hand. You in the audience, raise your hands. Uh-huh. Come on, don't be bad. Uh-huh, see? A filthy hand right there. Is it any wonder why people hate you? That is interesting.
Okay, I think it might be a nice time to open up our phone lines for all the mentally ill out there to call us in. It's 555-5624, 555-5624.
Incidentally, it might be interesting to know that the number out of town is also 555-5624. Whoa, ask them to call in, and that's what they do.
Fernwood Tonight, are you mentally ill?
Is this Fernwood Tonight?
Sure is.
Is this a television show?
Yes, it is. It's Fernwood Tonight.
I'd like to talk to the television show.
You are. I
Is
think
this the television show?
Yeah, I think we have our first winner.
I want to ask that doctor there, you know, why he's so worried about how many times I wash my hands here, because I'm not worried. I know my hands are clean. I'd like to know how many times he washes his own hands, and why doesn't he start worrying about himself and his own hands, because anybody who thinks my hands are dirty is a mentally ill person himself.
Can I put you on hold for a second? Doctor, the caller would like to know how many times a day you wash your little patties.
You know, I think that's an incredibly sick thing to ask of a doctor.
Okay. Sir, the doctor seems to feel you're a complete nutcase, okay? Okay, thank you. How did he even dialed it himself? I don't know.
Lucky we didn't have to go through a lot of sane calls. Wasted a lot of time.
Absolutely. It's really true. Let's make him our winner. What do you say?
Sure, fair enough.
And for our winner, we have some wonderful prizes, don't we, Jay?
That's right, Barth. Our caller will enjoy dinner for 2 at Lenny's American Restaurant. Try the tangy fish special of the day or the businessman's burger cone Lenny. Free parking, and please wait to be seated by the hostess. And from Peterson's Hardware, a $12 gift certificate for a mix and match bathroom set. Choose from a wide selection of seat covers, tissue holders, and toothbrush stands at Peterson's. And remember, Peterson's puts you next to godliness. Now back to you, Barth.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Doctor, it's been very interesting having you here. I think the test probably helped a lot of people out there. I think there's probably some people out there, however, eating their test papers. You know, there are screwballs. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll be right back after this commercial message.
Martin, turn on
Oh, you're getting better at that, Hap. It's a happy kind, incidentally, and the Mirth Makers, our wonderful orchestra. Come on. Boy, their sense of time goes right down the chute when you leave, doesn't
Takes a
it?
strong hand. You know, I really should have a baton. My wife said just the other day. You know, I know it's a small group, but I mean they play like 6 or 7 men. And
That's right. Just 5 guys and they have the sound of a 6 or 7 piece orchestra.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Those numbers, though, are really music to my ears when I hear it. It's wonderful to hear that.
The way they play.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes they play music. I mean,
But then sometimes, apparently, you do a little bit more than music. I think we all know about your Bun and Run restaurant here in town. It's been doing pretty well.
it's doing great. Well,
Very,
our
very good.
specializing, the hamburgers, hot dogs, which I think we told you before.
Yeah, how's that
Heck of
doing
an
down
idea.
there?
Very good. We had to have it degreased the other day, and we had a terrible time. The grease all over the floor.
Incidentally, those friends that I sent down, they are dropping the lawsuit. That's all over. It's,
Yes,
it was a great misunderstanding. I did a little quick talking there.
we had to go to small claims court, you see, because we sell 15-cent hamburgers.
And some good came of it, because now you have that stomach pump of your own down there. And
Yes,
so there's a silver cloud to every lining, isn't there?
Yes, that's right.
A silver lining to every
Silver
cloud.
lining to every cloud, Jerry.
We
but that's
have
not
our
the
own
best.
compressor, too, which we got at the local hardware store.
They usually throw that in.
Yeah, they'll throw it up. Oh, thanks.
Compressor, yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, I understand you're branching even further. Am I right? And
Yes,
going
well,
into-
the franchise business is very, very hot, especially in where we are in Ohio. And there's one item that I think that a lot of people like, especially women, and that is we're starting a franchise for hem stitching. And the headquarters are going to be in Canton, Ohio, yes. They have hem stitching and picoing and button covering, and then we make buttons like half ball and so forth.
Sure.
We have make buckles, we pleat, we have accordion pleating, we have sunburst pleating. And
Wow.
We have everything that you can imagine. And
Now, would
bowling
that-
shirts.
Would that cover needlepoint as well, Hat?
No, needlepoint I think is done mostly at home.
All right,
Yeah.
because I was thinking what a market you'd have down there at Ohio State with the football players making those little. You see that all the time. The athletes doing the needlepoint.
Yeah, well, we most of the people in Fernwood are smaller.
I see. I could have sworn I've seen it all the time.
But the one thing about it, we play for all these young dancers, and really they go crazy about the band. It's wonderful. Just the young people are hip. They're the only ones. I'm as hip as they are.
Oh, sure.
The longer you've been around, the hipper you get.
You can play some of this like a ladies' night dance. You can play for 30 minutes, and of course, with your union, you take like a 3-hour break, and then a break they can hem stitch their hearts content.
Morning sun.
Great, Hap. Well, we only have about 10 seconds more here, so I can't think of what to do in 10 seconds. Okay, time's up. I'd like to thank my guests, Dr. Stanley Turnbull.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, Barth.
Best of luck, and I mean that in every sense of the word. Happy Kind, the Mirth Makers, the redoubtable Jerry Hubbard, and especially you people out there. God bless you all. See us tomorrow night. You see us, we'll see you. Bye.
Also appearing on tonight's show were Richard Klein as Dr. Stanley Turnbull.
Starting September 25th, the ever-hilarious, always outrageous, and simply magnificent Monty Python's Flying Circus, returning to Channel 13, weeknights at 11 p.m. And next, get smart.
I've earned shit. So mostly pretty silly there, and it appears that we have let go of that feud with Jimmy Carter. It's time to just let bygones be bygones, or maybe we'll see more of it later. Before I get to this episode, though, last night I was just kind of strolling through the YouTube and found a video. I got curious about John Lennon and Yoko Ono, specifically when they hosted the Mike Douglas show. So I just pulled up an episode and hadn't really remembered seeing any of that. So I pulled up an episode, and it was really pretty fun and really forward. I feel like this was the early 70s, 72-ish. But it was such a really interesting and forward episode. I think Mike Douglas was still there. I don't think I got an episode where it was only John and Yoko hosting. And the reason I bring it up is because they had a sketch group on I actually have had in my collection a record from this group, the Ace Trucking Company. I never got to listen to it because it was really pretty scratched up, but I really just loved the cover, and I knew that it was a historic sketch group. Someone that ended up being in those sketches is Fred Willard, so I think I'm just going to have to share that link for you if you're curious to see what Fred Willard was doing maybe 5 years before this. It was really fun to watch the whole show, and really, it was much more progressive than I would have expected for the early 70s. So, I thought it was pretty cool. We have more links to share later, but for now, back to the episode. And at this point, like we've said, Barth has dropped his feud with Jimmy Carter and is really more interested in performing a bossa nova number. And bossa nova, well, it's a really kind of sexy, slinky style. And in this case, Barth, since he writes in Stream of Consciousness, has lots and lots of unacceptable words. So he hums through this number, and to be honest, I think this is the most delightful thing I've heard Barth sing to date, including on Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Just such a silly little tune that also kind of makes your mind do all of these little flips to imagine what is being hummed over. And then we bring up guest Dr. Stanley Turnbull, who has a take-home test for whether or not you need mental health treatment. And for those of you who have been watching me react to shows for a while, you might know that one of my gigs is as a crisis intervention trainer, and that is a person who trains police or who works with police to help them learn the skills of de-escalation, specifically with folks who have mental health issues. That's maybe a tangent from here, but just yesterday I got the bug in me to listen to and learn a little bit about the history of American mental health care, and found this short video, a half-hour video, about how things were run and how things have changed. And it's really pretty complex. Maybe not the funniest stuff, but for me it was really interesting, so I'm going to share that thought. In this case, the sketch is really more about this really weird test that seems to imply, no matter who is taking the test, that you're crazy, which is not how we describe people who are having mental health issues. But that is probably the word that we would use to describe this test. I loved little bits like the Chiron and the Rorschach test. When I saw it, I knew it was filthy, but I'm going to let you see it because that's how honest we are here. We just have to share the truth. And then we have another section of Rap with Happy, right? Back in the 1970s, before rap became associated with music, it was just the word that we used when we were having a conversation with each other, especially if you were one of them hip cats. And really, this one just plays with Happy looking to expand his business or diversify his business portfolio. There's a subtle bit over the last week and a half, 2 weeks that we've been watching this show that implies that Happy is fairly greedy or really money focused. And it's really subtle. It's just one of those things that every once in a while they'll ask him a question and his response is sort of greedy. It's not like Mr. Burns greedy. It's more like, oh, just one of those things that's sort of hidden in there. And really, that's where the show ends. Barth basically says goodbye. So now it is time for us to address the topic of the week. And that was bad guys. Now, most of our responses, we had more than 2 responses, but most of our responses were addressed on Monday and Tuesday this week. So I'll just bring this one up that because I'm looking for 3-dimensional views of these villains, and for the most part, the villains we named on Monday and Tuesday, those were Barth Gimbel and Texas, were fairly one-dimensional characters. I mean, Barth had a little bit of 3-dimensionality to them. Ken Givens brought up the woman who took Kathy's baby, who is Zorina in the show, as a bad guy. Ken is very clear that he sees this woman as a villain. And I don't know that I feel that way. I mean, she did take a baby. In one way, you might see her imagining that this baby was found. She found a baby. And of course, as many of you who've watched Mary Hartman, mostly children are lost in this show, as Ariel Malanga has told us again and again. So Zarina, she was mourning for her own child when she was introduced. And to be honest, throughout the whole of her time on this series, she was there as a help to Patty, who had some getaway issues. I'm not going to elaborate on that. Just go watch the show. But Zarina and Godza, who were the Roma couple who were traveling through Fernwood, they were there and offered Patty their help. And only at the end of their time in Fernwood, when Kathy was having an argument with two women in a laundromat, did Zarina come upon this baby and take it to be her own. Again, you could read it that she kidnapped a child. You could read it that she found a baby who needed a mother. There's a lot of different angles you could view that from. And then, to me, the dimensionality, or the thing that I would love to see, is what happened to the baby. What happened to Godza and Zarina? What became of them? And what kind of people were they? And that's usually not the kind of stuff that you would see in Mary Hartman, but that's the stuff that I would love to have had answered at some point. Who knows if we will see them in the future? There's obviously no more Mary Hartman, but if there's ever a way to view Forever Fernwood, perhaps they will turn up there. No answering. So that is my Wednesday response to the topic of the week. Those were all of the characters who were named, so I think on Thursday and Friday this week I will do a little bit of excavating through some of our villainous folks and see if we can find more dimensions to them. So everyone, thank you so much for watching with me. Again, thank you so much for leaving your thoughts, feelings, and impressions in the comments. Thank you for being your ubiquitous self, and we will see you tomorrow night in Fernwood.